Lots and lots of misconceptions have surfaced concerning the animation Yellow Submarine. What is not known to most people is why the Beatles initially hated the animation. Well, we have brought you the answers to your questions. In this video, we will look into why the Beatles first hated Yellow Submarine. So if you wish to know the true story, stick around till the end of this video. The Yellow Submarine. For its 1968 release, United Artists and King Features Syndicate collaborated to create Yellow Submarine, an innovative animated feature film inspired by the Beatles' music. United Artists and King Features Syndicate previously teamed up for Al Brodax's The Beatles, a Saturday morning ABC animated series. The Beatles rescued Pepperland from the evil blue meanies in an animated adventure. The story's takeaway was that good will ultimately win if people continue to love one another. The film immortalized the singing trio as a lively, thriving, and fun-loving group of people who love to have a good time, even though in real life they battled each other, suffering business troubles with their Apple firm, and struggled with a new direction for their music, desiring to move off to India for a while. Although the Beatles had a contract with United Artists to film the third movie before the release of Help, 1965, they initially rejected all of the scripts before settling on one. The Beatles' trouble with United Artists. Urban legend states that United Artists refused to accept Yellow Submarine as the third film under the contract the Beatles had with them. As a result, the Beatles were forced to produce the live-action version of Let It Be to satisfy their obligation. According to the substantiating documentation, Let It Be was covered by a separate and more recent contract. Because Yellow Submarine was a great success worldwide, UA had no grounds for complaint. Despite this, they were adamant that the Beatles make a brief live appearance, which resulted in one day of filming on January 25th, 1968, with the band members standing in front of a black screen after the movie. Initially, the scene was supposed to include animation, but time and money ran out before it could be completed. The inspiration behind the Yellow Submarine. It was announced in June 1967 that the next film that the Beatles would create would be an animated feature picture based on the song Yellow Submarine, which was included on the album Revolver in 1966 and sung by Ringo Starr. The idea for the movie came from the producer Brodax, who stated that their manager, Brian Epstein, was a very unpleasant person and promised that if the television series were successful, I would be permitted to shoot a short feature. This statement became the inspiration for the movie. The movie could be made in fewer than 11 months and cost approximately $1 million if the budget was kept to a minimum. To fulfill that deadline, production had to get underway before completing either the script or the storyboard. This is one of the reasons why the story is told in the form of a series of shorts, with the tone shifting approximately every 5 minutes. Because King Features was concerned that the Beatles' popularity might not last and that the band was already showing warning signs of breaking up, the premiere date of Help was set for July 1968 at the London Pavilion in Piccadilly Circus. This decision was made in response to the band already exhibiting warning signs of disbanding. The Beatles initially disapproved of the idea, but in the end, they came around to it because it would fulfill a contractual requirement for them without requiring them to coordinate their schedules to make joint appearances, travel to other cities, or even provide their voices. In other words, it would satisfy the requirement without requiring them to do any of those things. They had already made up their minds to travel to India and were getting ready to leave the country. Some of the songs they had recorded in the past were included, but in addition, they were required to provide 4 new songs and have a casual discussion with the creative team on 2 separate occasions. During the few times they stopped by the animation studio, the animators recalled them as being aloof and pretentious. George Martin, who was in charge of producing music, recalled that the Beatles were against the notion from the beginning. It was obvious that the Beatles believed it would be yet another ripoff, similar to the television series that they desired to have nothing to do with it. They detested the concept of cartoon characters because it brought images of Popeye from Brodax's cartoons or other forms of animation that were considered rather crude. The Beatles' take. George Harrison said, "The fact that we didn't have anything to do with it is the aspect of the movie that I admire the most." John Lennon said, "Gross beast, except from the person who made the artwork, stealing all the ideas for the movie from out of our skulls and not giving us any credit." When he was questioned about the creative team behind the film, the artists would turn up for practices at the Abbey Road studios to see the Beatles, which irked Lennon but also annoyed the other Beatle members. According to legend, John Lennon once quipped, "Nothing's too good got the film," Therefore, this is what we will give them: nothing. Lennon was the one who requested that any music that he was regarded to be below par be contributed to the movie. George Harrison had only submitted one Northern Song song for consideration for inclusion in the Sgt. Pepper album. Harrison's song, It's All Too Much, was turned down for use in Magical Mystery Tour. McCartney's song, All Together Now, was an adaptation of a tune he called Jumping Around the Room that he wrote for his little cousins and nephews. The song Hey Bullfrog was supposed to be a throwaway for John Lennon, but after hearing Paul McCartney barking like a dog, Lennon enjoyed it so much that he decided to rename the song Hey Bulldog. The musical part was cut from the versions distributed in the United States. Paul McCartney was concerned that the movie might compete with Magical Mystery Tour or prevent a sequel to that film from being made. Because of his passion for animation, he was the only Beatles member who appeared in animated films. Harrison had nothing to say about the matter when he showed up there. Lennon was known for always having a superior attitude and for taking credit for things that were the work of others, such as Heinz Edelman's Blue Meanies. The only thing Ringo had to say about it was that he thought his nose wasn't long enough. John and Paul said they were disappointed that they hadn't been more actively involved in the project. When they saw the movie for themselves, they unanimously agreed it was enjoyable. There was just one problem with it. They were all okay with the voices used for their other Beatles caricatures, but not a single one liked the one used for their character. Why did the Beatles hate the submarine? In August of 1999, after 30 years had passed since the film's release, the Beatles recalled it somewhat differently. Paul McCartney said, "You must remember that it wasn't our film. My goal was to make Yellow Submarine look more like an old-school cartoon. I enjoy Disney movies, and because of that, I imagine that this could have been the best animation if only it had been set to our music." They believed that it was appropriate for them to continue from where we had left off, Sgt. Pepper, even though they knew that I would have preferred Bambi at the moment. However, they did not want it, and fortunately, I did not have a say in the matter. When we first started, the four of us had high hopes for a more traditional story, such as Pinocchio or Snow White. I thought it lacked the creativity, warmth, and general enchantment typically associated with Disney. The Yellow Submarine, in the end, failed to captivate my attention for any reason whatsoever. In the end, I didn't think it was any more than a bunch of brilliant moments strung together. George Harrison recalls saying, "I thought the movie was good. In most cases, the film is geared towards younger children, specifically those aged 4 or 5. I believe that children of all ages take pleasure in doing it. It may be considered a classic by some individuals my age. Perhaps it's only that they love listening to music once more." Ringo Starr once commented, "I thought Yellow Submarine was fantastic. It struck me as an extremely original idea. The one aspect of the movie that continues to astound me is that within the first year after it was released, many young people approached me and asked, 'Why did you hit the button?' In the movie, I push a button that causes me to be shot out of the submarine, as if it was real. Children from all over the world keep yelling at me, 'Why did you click the button?' as if it were happening in real life. They seriously mistook me for someone else." Okay guys, we have come to the end of this video. I guess you enjoyed every bit of it. And hey, don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons. We will be dropping videos soon. Do well to turn on your notification button as you wouldn't want to miss out on our next video. What are your thoughts on today's video? Please let us know in the comment section below. And if by now you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of our incredible videos. Keep an eye out for the next video. Bye for now.